biologist and also a craniosacral practitioner. And it's now about more than 10 years that I'm working with them, making application about heart coherence and also brainwave acquisition, and also a few devices that we have built together. And in fact, we are working in both ways on biofeedback. In one way, it's apps which are making acquisition of different things coming from the body, from the heart, and from the brain. And on the other way, we have designed a few devices that can create frequencies, special frequency. I will talk about all these frequency during this presentation, and all this frequency can interact with the body. And after this interaction, we can also use the app to see the impact and the effect of this frequency on the body. Well, in fact, there are three kinds of apps, one for the brainwave, one for the heart coherence, and also another app which is designed to create special cascade of frequency to interact with the body. And these are most of the website that you can check and have more information about this. In fact, as I told you, all my work is based on Dunn-Winter work and on Dunn-Winter equation. And Dunn-Winter equation start with the Planck length, and then if you multiply the Planck length with golden ratio, with a lot of golden ratio, you will get a scale, a ladder, which is on the left side of the screen, and each step of the ladder is connected to a frequency of what we can see in the universe. You can have the photosynthesis frequencies, the Schumann frequency, the Venus and the Earth here, precession of the equinox, and etc., etc. There are a lot of stuff, and you will see that when we go to the lower frequencies on this ladder, we have of course the Schumann frequencies, but also the frontier between alpha and theta and delta brain waves. And if you go down to these frequencies, well, it's explained in hertz here, but it's maybe for this very low frequency to mention it in cycles per minute. You have the frequency of the breathing of a child, the frequency of the breath of an adult, and also the craniosacral rhythm. So there are two kinds of craniosacral rhythm. One which is related to the blood pressure variation, and other frequencies which are related to the emptiness of the brain ventricles, so the cerebrospinal fluids. I will explain a little bit more after. So, in fact, there are, well, I just explained these two kind of rhythm, one which is coming from the heart, so from the blood pressure, and it is here on the left of the slide, and these are a picture of the ventricles of the brain, and this is here what's happening inside. So the cerebral spinal fluids is going in and then going out a few times per minute, but it's very, very slow rhythm. And this is what we can see with the blood pressure variation. It's very simple to get. It's a small sensor you put on your finger, and it's a light sensor. So some light is coming through your finger, and with the pressure variation inside your finger, there will be a movement of tissue inside the finger, and you will get these kind of pulses, like here, which is the blood pressure pulse. And all these small pulses you see on the right part of the screen are the blood pulses. So each time there is a beat in your heart. And in red you have the HRV, and in orange this pressure, blood pressure, and you will see that there is a wave which is represented in blue here, which is the variation of the pressure inside your blood vessels. And this is 1 minute of recording, so you will see there is about 6 times per minute, but we will talk a little bit more after. This is again the equation of Dan, and you see that this beautiful golden wave scale with the emptiness of the brain ventricles, which are here, and here the blood pressure of the blood of the.
It also, you could, Patrick could say that that slide also shows all of the major sacrocranial frequencies, mid-tidal, long-tidal, and the correlation with the calculated peaks. So it's all the major sacrocranial frequencies, which is your expertise. Patrick, your slide display is showing a previous and then active slide instead of full screen. So it shows suivant and active. So the active slide is showing only like half the screen. So maybe when you selected which window to share.
Maybe I should try again. There are 2 slides on the screen.
Yes,
only
yeah. Yes, yes. Yeah. I think if you undo the share screen and then redo it, and yeah, that's right. And I'll try.
Correct one, maybe. Yes.
Because then we'll see a full screen better. Try selecting the screen again.
Okay. Okay, and then, I'm sorry. So sharing screen again.
That way the screen will be bigger.
Okay. Let's try.
That's better. It's better.
Yep.
Better already. It's bigger already. You can make that a little bigger. Oh, yeah, that's perfect.
Sorry.
Perfect. Yeah, so just go back a couple slides. Just, yeah.
You've got time, Patrick. You can go back to the beginning and just quickly flip through if you like.
Yeah, or just, yeah.
These are the recycle. This is the garbage.
Janice, if you could mute yourself, please.
Yeah, right. Make sure, guys, everything's muted.
So everything of my research is related to Dan's work and Dan's equation, which is Planck length times a lot of golden ratio, and you will get on this equation a kind of scale, and you will find everything which is in it. You will find the frequency of photosynthesis, the Schumann period, Venus year, Earth year, but also on lower step of the scale, you have the breath of the child, the breath of the adult, and the cerebrocranial osteo frequency from the blood pressure and from the emptiness of the brain ventricles. That's what you can see here on the left part, and I will show you more on the next slide. The variation of pressure of the blood, and also these are in blue, the brain ventricles, and this is an animation, but it's going too fast because normally it's, so these brain ventricle spinal liquids, and every minute again.
Remember that it was the ventricle pump that Bentoff identified as the major mechanism of Kundalini and bliss, so that resonance of the ventricle liquids is very profound.
So this is what we can see in with this small sensor, which is a light sensor, and when the light is coming through the finger, there is a movement of the tissue, and then you will get these are all the pulse in orange in the right part of the screen, and you see there is a beautiful wave which is appearing when you are making it. And this was a picture of Dan's work showing the different craniosacral tides. from the pressure wave of the blood and also the emptiness of the brain ventricles. So now, in fact, there are a lot of people who try to understand the relationship between the frequency and the different parts of the body and the different organs. One of the first one was Tomatis, and Tomatis was making hearing tests. That's what you can see on the lower part of the screen for the 2 ears. And Tomatis was making two kinds of hearing tests. One sending frequencies through the tympanum, so in the normal way, and the other one short circuit the tympanum and send the frequency directly to the internal ear. And we get two different kinds of curves. One which is in blue, which is the normal hearing test through the tympanum, and the red one is just through the internal ear. And when analyzing the shape of these curves, so the missing frequencies, and also the difference between the red and the blue curves, you can see that there is some trouble inside the body and at different part of the body. And in fact, he made a map of the body, Tomatis, and it was going from 100 Hertz on the lower part of the body up to 8,000 at the top of the body. It's quite easy to understand regarding the bones, because if you want to make to create a bell with a low frequency sound, you will create a very heavy and big bell. And this is the case on the lower bones of the body. And if you want to make a very high frequency bell, it will be a very thin and small bell, which is the case of the skull. So the more you're going to the top of the body, you're going to higher frequencies. And more recently, it's a very, very beautiful book from Stéphane Carnino and Catherine Anne Martin. They have worked for more than 1 year with their student and sending electromagnetic wave to the body. And they were asking their student, where do you feel? What do you feel and where do you feel? And they make a beautiful map of the body coming from 1 Hertz in the feet and going up to the top of the body, about 800 Hertz. Another research was done a long time ago with Paul Nogier, and Paul Nogier was sending light frequencies, pulse light frequency to the different part of the body, and he was measuring when the body was responding to these frequencies. And so he made a map of the body. But what is very interesting is that when he was sending on the same part of the body a much higher frequency, he got exactly the same response. And it was about a 100 factor between these two frequencies for the same part of the body. So we have now, as I explained, 3 kinds of information about the frequencies inside the body. Tomatis going from 100 to 800, to 8,000. Stéphane Carnino from 1 to 800, and Nogier this factor about 128. So we were thinking, who is right, who is wrong? But in fact, it seemed that the body is responding in these 3 ways to frequencies. And regarding the finding of Dan, and most of the work of Dan is based on the golden ratio, it seems that it's not a 10 factor or a 100 and there is a missing part here, it's 120. In fact, it's not related to a 10 factor or a 100 factor. It's 5 times golden ratio or 10 times the golden ratio. And these are some steps which are appearing inside the body, and you will see that it will help us a lot by to create new kind of matrix of frequency to interact with the body, this information. What is very interesting that when we take the research of Stéphane Cardinaux about the different frequency inside the body and done equation, you see that one of the frequency of Dan is 130, and Stéphane Cardinaux set 131 for the second chakra. And it's continuing when you go to the top. So you have 211 here for the heart, you have another for the throat, and you have the one on the top of the head is very close also on the measurement of Stéphane Cardinaux and the equation of Dan. And what is very interesting too is that the frequency here, 2347, it's exactly the frontier between what Stéphane is calling the sacred masculine and the sacred feminine. So it's really a confirmation that Dan equation is really interacting with very specific part of the body and with the chakra. You see that these are more picture of Stéphane work. Another way to get information from the body is to make a voice analysis. And there are two examples here. So from the lower frequency 100 up to 8,000, you see that on the top part of the graph, it's an old and healthy person. And you see that there are a lot of frequency in the spectrum. And on the lower part, it's a young and stressed boy, which is passing exams in the university, and you see there are a lot of missing frequencies. So it's completely crazy. But we all know that when we are stressed, the voice is changing. And we can compare with GDV, Kirlian pictures, and you see again these two examples with a person with a beautiful voice analysis. You have the aura is filled with light, and there are a lot of missing parts when you get a voice analysis with a lot of missing frequencies. And you can make comparison also with the hearing test, and you see that there is something happening here at this frequency in the hearing test. You have a missing frequency also in the voice analysis, and you get the same thing on GDV Kirlian pictures. Now we'll talk a little bit about the different apps that we have. The first app that we designed was an app which is dedicated to measure the different things coming from the heart. And as I'm a craniosacral practitioner, I wanted to insert in this app the sacrocranial wave display. So the variation of the pressure inside your blood vessel. This app can also make breath coherence training and also give some information about stress management, and also can make some kind of night analysis. We'll explain more in the next slide.
So we should say that.
So here you have the example again with this finger sensor, and in the orange you see in real time you have the variation of your sacrocranial wave, which is appearing.
It's so beautiful. It shows those curves interactively. And note how inexpensive that app is, iThrive.com. And also, it has so many different inputs. You can use various devices to input inexpensively your heart rate variability breath.
Yeah, there are different kinds of input. You can use a polar chest strap, but the polar chest strap will only give you the HRV. If you want to get the sacrocranial wave, you need to use this kind of special light sensor. What is important also in this app is that we have noticed that when people are stressed, even if they are making some practice of heart coherence, there is a shift between the HRV component and the pressure wave component. here it's a perfect fit between the orange curve, which is the pressure wave, and the blue curve, which is the HRV curve coming from HRV. And so there are two kind of components, one which is electrical, so HRV, and the other one which is a movement of liquid inside the body. And Dan explained that it can be related to electricity and something which is called the power factor. And in fact, when the two components in the electricity are out of phase, you will lose a lot of the power. And probably that's what's happening also inside the body. When you're stressed, you're losing part of your power. And when all these, these two frequencies are in phase, you're much, much more healthy.
Actually, it's very specific. It's not just a metaphor. It's literal. It's voltage, which is pressure, versus amperage flow. And if that's out of phase in your power system, the power factor is bad and you lose dramatic efficiency. And in your heart, it's the same thing. If the voltage of the heart peak is out of phase with the flow peak, then again, loss of power factor, loss of efficiency.
Thank you, Dan. And so about our coherence, just a few information now, that most of the apps are looking for a single peak in the what is called the LF part of the spectrum of the HRV. And in fact, they are looking for this peak, and they're looking for the size of this peak. So they say that the more you're in coherent state, you will get the bigger peak. This is what we found in most of the apps. And Dan have introduced another way of analyzing this coherence from the heart. Instead of looking on a single peak, he was looking on the cascade of all the peaks of the spectrum, and see the shape, and analyzing the shape of the peak of the spectrum. For example, if you take an example of spectrum here in black, in fact, what we can measure to try to get more information about the full spectrum, you will see the relationship, the distance between the different peaks, but also the comparison of the size of each peak from one to each other. And it's almost the same thing as drawing the line, which is in red here, and trying to see the shape of the line. And that's what lead down to his first, I think, Dan, remember me the name of your device?
Yeah, the heart tuner, or the
heart tuner, yeah. And in the heart tuner, using the second, instead of doing the first spectrum analysis, Dan is doing a second analysis of the spectrum, which is called a spectrum. And it's amazing because he is getting a peak also in this second way of analysis. And of course, the size of this peak will give you the coherent state. And also, but we will explain a little bit more after, the position of this peak will give you your emotional response. And if you're more in your head or more in your heart, or if you're very stressed, there are a lot of information. So these are a few examples of the screen that you can get with the iDrive app. Some graph showing your coherent state, some graph showing your stress. And, well, we don't have time to explain all of them, but just to show you. What's interesting also that you can use a Polish chest strap to make a night analysis. And what we have done is to make analysis of all the frequency of your heart and make the relationship of all these frequency with music notes. And then we can put on the graph a different color. each different color for each different music note, and you can see on which part of your body your heart rate is entering resonance during the night. And you see there are two nights here. You see there are two completely different nights. And what is very interesting too is that you know that there are different sleep stages. And one of the most important stage is the deep sleep stage, which is well, the biggest one around the start of the night, and then it's reducing during the night. But it's a very important state because it's restoring energy, well, and also growth hormone release, and well, a lot of very interesting things in this part of the body. And we can, while making analysis of the different band of the spectrum, of the heart spectrum, we can extract these deep sleep part of the night. And you see here, there are, well, here it's quite a lot of deep sleep in light blue, and another night with much less of this deep sleep.
It's the time when you sort your emotions. It's critical. So if you're not getting deep sleep, and it's amazing, hospitals charge hundreds of dollars to do that analysis. And with the inexpensive iThrive, Patrick was a genius to set this up. I think it's, and you also have an accelerometer built in there, right, Patrick?
Yes, and you can also use well, you put your iPhone or your iPad on your bed, and it will get the movement of your body. And when you're in deep sleep state, you don't move at all. You're very still. And so by making comparison of your heart rate analysis and also the movement, and you see there is a perfect correlation between the movement, which are here in pink, and the deep sleep stage, which are in light blue here. The last thing that I can say about this app also is what Dan talked about. It was about the caduceus graph here. You see, when you take a pendulum, there are 2 points of rest in the pendulum. And if you are making these kind of caduceus graphs, so going from starting with large, deep breath and then going through golden ratio to lower and lower and lower breath. In fact, what will happen is that all these points on rest will come very close to each other, to some kind of still point. And as for the pendulum, the point of rest are some kind of out of time. And that's what you feel when you make this kind of caduceus breath. And it can be measured also through the app. You see, this is a beautiful example here of this caduceus breath. And when you achieve this on the other screen, top left part of the screen, you see that the coherence is increasing a lot.
So that was the blissful implosion moment, and your heart coherence soars right then. It's magic.
Yes. Also, this is a small and very cheap app, which is iThrive Chakra. It's in fact it's measuring, as I explained with the music notes of the different parts of the body. It is measuring the way that your body is, your heart rate is entering in resonance with a different chakra and different part of the body. So if you make a relationship between the frequency of your HRV and the different part of your body, if you stay on a chair or most of the part of the day, only a small part of your body will enter in resonance with your heart frequency. And you see here, it's a beautiful example of a very big amplitude in HRV. And it is this kind of beautiful amplitude in HRV, which is done by coherence breath. You will enter in resonance with all of your chakra. And you can see while using this app that you really need to move a lot of time during the day if you sit too much on a chair, because otherwise only a small part of your body will enter in resonance.
I don't know if you were going to show, Patrick, where you derive from the biology literature what low frequencies correspond to which chakra to tune the heart, breath, and know which chakra is on fire. Patrick did beautiful research on that.
Yeah, but you will find much more information on my website. But well, we don't have time to explain everything here. So now let's talk a little bit about the other app, which are Flame in Mind and Flame in Sound. In fact, Flame in Mind is mainly dedicated to brainwave analysis and to see the way that you're meditating, and also when you access to bliss state. And the other app, which is Flame in Sound, which is generating different kind of frequency, different cascade of frequency to interact with the body. And Flame in Sound is including Flame in Mind. So if you buy Flame in Sound, you will have for free the Flame in Sound inside. And if you don't have the brainwave sensor, you can just buy Flame in Sound to drive the different frequencies.
We say that the Flame in Sound is the world's most powerful bliss-inducing binaural beat based on pure implosion sound. And the Flame in Sound inexpensive app can drive 4 different devices. Your bone conduction, it can drive the 5vibes.com, it can drive plasmafire.com, and the Quantify.
Okay, so first let's talk about Flame in Mind. So it's a device that can measure the brain wave. You have a lot of different graphs appearing, and you can measure the lucid dream, telepathy, and a lot of stuff. And there is also a new dashboard which appeared now more than a year ago, which is measuring the flow. And in fact, the flow is really something interesting, because it's a special state which is achieved by some performer. So this guy is walking on a wire here, and when we make the analysis of what's happening in his brain, in fact, nothing is working anymore on the front brain, only the back brain is working. And to achieve this kind of state, you have to do something which is not very easy, that needs a lot of your concentration, a little bit stress, but you will be a really a very performant state inside your body, and in some way also a very relaxed state. And this is what we are measuring. So we are comparing the front brain, the back brain, also because we are working with all the information coming from down research. So we are looking for octave ratio, phi ratio inside the brain wave. And the summary is done with these big eyes, which is displayed on the screen. And the more the eye will be open, the more you will be in this kind of state, so in the flow, or also with a lot of phi ratio or octave ratio.
Patrick, would you go back to that just one more, back a slide, one more? Yeah, just to say, you see, Patrick achieved this when we discovered we could get full 4-channel EEG. So the black there is displaying the back brain's output, and the white is displaying the front brain. And it's so logical and intuitive. In order to be, I'm sorry, no, the white is the,
yeah. It's the opposite.
Sorry.
The black is the front.
Sorry, right. So the white is the back brain, and the black. And it's intuitive, because if your back brain is dominant, then you're getting immediate feedback right from the amygdala at the top of the spine. It doesn't have the time delay to be processed by the front brain. So you can be instinctive and responsive. So the concept of sports in the flow, in that relaxed state, and the fact that it's teachable here is fabulous with full 4-channel EEG. So Patrick did a great job of programming.
Okay. So we have also the opportunity to work with kids making blind vision. And it was very, very interesting. We are still working on it, but unfortunately for the moment, it's very difficult because they are living in different countries and it's not easy to travel for the moment. But we already get a very beautiful result. And in fact, we get these kind of shapes with almost no alpha and a lot of beta and a lot of gamma frequencies. And most of the time we get something which is very, very interesting. This is one of the examples here. You see that there are phi ratio, but also octave ratio at the same time. So you see here we have free phi ratio, this, and also here free phi ratio, and also free octave ratio on the same spectrum, which is very interesting. Maybe Dan can say a few interesting thing about this too.
Yeah, well, just that, in the past we had seen octave ratio somehow associated more often with telepathic, and versus the golden ratio was associated more with bliss. But the point being that, these young people who are seeing without their eyes say they see a tube, a vortex, open up inside their head blindfold, and they look through the tornado, which forms an eyeball. And we think that this is a compression algorithm by frequency that allows them to squeeze the inner plasma vortex, called consciousness, so the tornado forms an eyeball. And this is a compression phenomena because of coherent cascades. Inner vision.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. So another thing that can be done with this app is to measure life force. Here is an example of I'm with barefoot on the grass. I put two hands on the sensor, and you see the Schumann frequency is coming. This is another experiment we have done. It was with therapy, and we have placed a sensor inside the room, and before when the therapy was on, and what is very interesting is that it's also measuring the frequency even when the therapy is off, so that the frequency stays in the room. You see here we put the therapy on, we have beautiful cascade of frequencies, and then when we put it off, it continues for a few minutes, showing the cascade of frequency.
And indeed, in effect, it seemed like the Therapy actually also repressed spurious or electrosmog harmonics quite dramatically.
Yeah. You can also place them on a tree, or this is an example of an olive tree, and you get again the Schumann frequency which is coming. And another part of this app is also, like we explained before, to measure the emotional balance. And we can measure the emotional balance between two persons. And so when we measure the emotional balance of two persons, we are measuring the empathy. And when the two persons are looking through the eyes of each other and talking about themselves, what we can see is that their two heart rates enter in resonance, and that's what we are measuring with this kind of amplifier. And that's what we explained previously. This is an example. So you have the two EKG here, and then what we are measuring is the famous second order of FFT, and comparing the two graphs, the two spectrum of the two person, and you see here when they are completely in their heart and talking about themselves to each other, there is a resonance of the two heart, and this can be measured with this device.
It can be actually used as a Tantra trainer. Actually, I think that was Valerie and I.
Yeah. Well, now in the latest update of the app, what we have done is to make a new way of analysis of all the sessions. Like that, you can measure the influence of, well, let's say electromagnetic waves, or listening to some music, some binaural beats, and make a recording before and after. And also to see the impact of what you are doing during the session. If you're receiving electromagnetic waves, or listening to music, or watching to flashlight, or things like that. And you have here all the alpha peaks which are coming. You see, this is an example where most of the alpha peaks are in the lower part of the spectrum. But also what we can do is to measure what's happening inside your heart. So you have the HRV spectrum, and a lot of statistical HRV analysis, which are used in hospitals to see your stress index and things like that. This was up to the latest update of the app.
So note, you're getting both the HRV and EEG inputs to the same app at Flame in Mind.
Yes. With Flame in Mind, you can have both.
You can the heart-brain link up.
Yeah, and these are, well, a few examples that we have done. This is a device which is called BrainTap, which is with light flashing in front of your eyes, and also listening to specific binaural sound. And you see the green here, the alpha is increasing from the start of the session up to the end. We have a lot of alpha coming. Also, another device which is doing the same thing. And you see again an increase in alpha. And
so
here,
Patrick, you have 5 minutes, because we need to leave a little bit of time for some questions here. So
okay.
You've got 5 more minutes.
I will speed it up. Okay, thank you, Roger. So there are a few examples that I'm showing here with the different kind of analysis we can make with the latest update of the app. And also there is a way that you can now export the data to Excel and create your own graph. This is an example of, well, now, framing sound, in fact, is, as I explained, sending frequencies to the body. And when you send this frequency inside the app, you can also make the recording of what's happening in the app. Well, there are two different ways to send frequency to the body. It's sound waves or electromagnetic waves. If you are using electromagnetic waves, you can use them with the Quantify with a vibrational device which is called Vibes, and also with plasma balls, which is plasma fire. And in fact, what we have done is creating a new way of interacting with the body, with a new way of cascade of frequency based on what I explained before, the scale of 10 and the scale of 100, which are, so we have created a new matrix. And while using this new matrix, we really have very interesting results in the body. The app has on a table inside, and you can select which part of your body you want to work on. And well, I will speed it up a little bit. Well, we are using also binaural beads. I'm sorry, but I have to go much faster to go to the end. So the flaming sound, you have also a lot of graphs which are coming through the recording, and you can have the return of what you're doing with the
You really should say that those frequencies from flame and sound driving these three devices, plasma, fire, quantify, that almost everyone will feel it in the specific, for example, heart or brain that you select. You can actually send energy to one part of the body, and almost replicably people feel it there. It's so powerful.
Yes, yes. And so these are the plasma fireballs. These are two devices which are working in battery, so you don't have any EMF pollution, and they are driven through the flaming sound app.
Plasmafire.com.
Yeah, and they can drive the quantifier also. And the other device is a vibrating device, which is also using this same cascade of frequency, which is working also very fine. You put these two vibrators on your body, and it's working fine. It's really working, but it's another way to interact with the body with vibration.
5vibes.com.
Yes. So we have done a few, just to finish, we have done some kind of test to see the impact of all these frequencies generated through electromagnetic waves. This is somebody which is stressed on the left here. So he is a missing part, missing in his aura regarding the liver and the kidney. And after 15 minutes of frequency with a plasma ball, you see it's full again.
That's plasmafire.com.
Yes. And this is
new.
A very recent experiment.
Wonderful.
Which has been done in a lab. And you see, before, it was, we have done chakra, so each chakra cascade of, directly connected to each chakra. And we have done all the chakra of the body during 20 minutes. And on the left, you have before, it's a blood red cell, and they're in rouleau. And after 20 minutes of this plasma device using the cascade of them, you see all the red blood cells now are free. Well, we have looked in the literature. It's not easy to find information about this rouleau. They say that well, it can appear even for a very healthy person. It can go to rouleau and then go free again. But I have found a table here which is giving a lot of different disease where we can find them. So we can see that something is happening, but we need to make more experiment. And but it's first step, and it's very, very interesting.
So Patrick, let's take some questions, or do you want to just summarize? Do you want to give you 1 minute to summarize, and then we need to do some questions, yeah?
Yeah, yes. Well, just that the latest thing that we have done, it was done with Stefan Cardino, and we have used through the electromagnetic wave of the plasma ball, we have done the cascade of frequencies, and we have measured with the LVA device, which can take the information from the body from a group of persons. And what you can see here on the left, it was how the different alignment of the chakra on the left, and then after 20 minutes of the cascade of the down frequency, you see that it's much, much better. Okay, I think that
was great. Great, Patrick.
So, for instance, Patrick, there's a number of questions here, and we're not going to get through them all because of time. What is the best, which website is the best? Do you have a contact form that people can just directly email you?
Yes. But to directly email me, just wait. I will put that.
But actually, at flameandmind.com is right there is Patrick's contacts as well. And his website is craniosacral-app.com is where he summarizes all of the apps as well.
Oh, good.
Yes, yes.
Okay,
But
so folks, if we don't get through the questions, you can always just go to that website and send some email. So Karen asks, for instance, I have the flame in mind and would like to know if there is a course where I can learn to use it and understand the wave patterns.
well, there on my website and also on flameinmind.com website, there are a lot of videos explaining how to use it. And now, of course, if they have specific questions, they can contact me. My mail is on the website, and I can. Sometimes I spend some time on Skype also for answering questions. If we have a specific question or something, yes,
there's a question here from Greg. How do different climate zones factor in? For instance, you know, if you live on the equator.
I'm sorry, I did not catch it.
I'll repeat the question. How do different climate zones factor in? Like, is where you live, especially say if you live on the equator, is there any sort of climatic regional energies that you need to factor into this? Not so much, yeah?
Well, you know, there's lots of literature on heart rate variability, and of course, it's widely known that equatorial living has higher body energy, which does show up in heart rate variability, harmonic inclusiveness. So there's no correction factor per se, but you could see the higher energy density and higher metabolism in heart rate variability, and that's well studied.
From the Verified group in Canada, are there manuals for these apps?
Yes, on the website.
There's manuals,
and
instructions.
that's the second question. Where can you get them? So on the website, there's some manuals.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, this is from Ralph. How can I use this information for practical use to improve my mind and heart?
Well, you know, the Flame in Mind is about brainwave analysis, and it's really very powerful. The first time you see yourself making alpha is the beginning of lucid dreaming. It's so easy, and you use a breath control to do that. And you can start very inexpensively with iThrive.com and breath control, and it'll show up immediately in your heart rate variability, and then later extend that to brainwave and meditation work. So it does start with breath control, and breath control starts with iThrive and ends with Flame in Mind. It's beautiful.
Yeah, that's definitely the place to start, is the breath control. There's a question here from Daniel. Are there any plans to bring these apps to the Android platform?
Maybe
not for the moment.
Yeah, we found an Android programmer, but you know, the fractionation, both hardware and software on Android, makes it's going to be a long way off. We are looking into it.
But in fact, also that since a few years, the programming platform told us that normally the next step would be a programming platform that you can program for both kind of device, but nothing is moving, so we are waiting.
Dan, do you want to summarize as well? You guys have got 5 minutes now.
Well, just, you know, Patrick has done such amazing work putting these programs together. The power there, for example, showing those most powerful bliss harmonics from the flame and sound part, which are inexpensive, and they can drive 4 different devices. But I don't know if you understood that you can actually pick which part of the body you want to stimulate and play it into 4 different devices, and the majority of the people will feel it there in that part of the body. And now we're getting actual medical, well, at least biological documentation of the effect on the body, including the blood cell. So I really think Patrick is to be congratulated. You just have no idea how many options are in all of these apps. It's so powerful, you couldn't cover it all in this short time.
Yes, for sure.
Yes, what's interesting with on one way we have the app, and on the other way we have also the device which are sending information to the body, and like that we can see the impact of the different frequency we are generating on the body, and this is very powerful. And in fact, Flame in Mind, sometimes it's not easy to use because there are a lot of possibilities, but again, I can be contacted and I can help, because it's much more a lab app than something to play. So it's really now it has been designed to make comparisons of different things, of different states, and so on.
It was the first time you could actually see golden ratio cascades in a really economic app. And we should mention one last thing, maybe, Patrick, that when Patrick showed you measuring the heart coherence of two people lining up for Tantra and empathy measurement, which is possible in flameandmind.com, it's much more elegant and solid and stable now in the new realheartcoherence.com, which actually enables the two-channel full EKG spectrum analysis, real heart coherence training.
Well, excellent. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Dan. Excellent presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you, Roger.
Patrick, you're wonderful.
Recording stopped.
Thank you.
So, guys, we're going to